Dremio look. Greetings.
And welcome to the Elder Scrolls Legends podcast. I am your host, Gym Class Hero. Joining me today is Matt Oblivium and some French guy I found on the streets. His name is Romanesque, I guess. Played card games here and there. So today, I guess we can start off. Let's start off with a nice, easy topic. We're gonna
Easy topics this week.
But how are you guys doing, by the way? You been good? Life treating you good?
Yeah, like things have been just going along, just trucking along. At least there's actually a lot less Ram Scouts, so for at least I didn't see any, so I'm happy.
I saw very little, but when I see them, I remember them. You know, that seems to be a thing. Like I play them very little. I know I do, but I remember playing them. What's your experience in your life, Romanesque?
Well, today's a great day. I'm feeling grumpier than usual, which is really awesome. Besides that, I haven't found the person I went to target today with all the hate they accumulate from years of frustration, so hopefully I find something today and it might be you, Gym Class, if you're lucky.
Oh, sweet. I get to be the object of the hatred. Sick. Alright. So I guess we can talk about ladder really briefly, actually. Yeah, I've seen a resurgence of Control Mage out of nowhere. Which...
What do you mean out of nowhere? I've been playing Mage on stream for the whole month.
No one cares. I don't watch your stream, right?
I can't seem to find any control decks anywhere, but that's just me.
Yeah, well...
Is it a timing thing? Because you're in the morning.
I think so.
Control Mage is coming out at night, so it's safe for you. Alright, so, I've been seeing a good amount of Control Mage, which is nice. Alter Monk does pretty good against them, but of course Scout just in time to ruin my life. But I haven't seen too many token decks. Well, as is today, I guess. I haven't streamed the last few days because of everything crap in the bed on the internet. But, yeah. I guess we will now move on to the patch notes. Nice friendly topic before we get into the gritty things. So let me share my screen with chat. Magic. Alright, so first change I guess we see is Soul Tear from 2 to 3 mana. I hate this change because I feel it doesn't do enough to address the issues that we are encountering. I think Soul Tear 3 mana, it's strong. It's definitely puts a halt onto it. But I wouldn't mind if it stayed 2 mana and had a Banish effect. But Romanesque, you're super eager to talk, so please give your opinion.
So here, I feel like people are not going to react well to this, but I think that people are tunnel visioning on a lot of changes. And I think that people who say that Scout was buffed by this patch are straight up delusional. Simply because the cards that were nerfed, that were not... that were the basically people are saying they nerf cards that were good against Scout and they barely nerf Scout, and this is wrong in 2 different ways, which don't cancel out to make it right. The first way it's wrong is that the Soul Tear nerf is a big deal because people tunnel vision on the excess that Scout has to ramp and their ability to build up this mana to 25 mana. I exaggerate slightly, but obviously when you have 20 mana, 2 or 3 does not matter. But the issue is that Scout is already weak to faster decks than them. Scout is weak at beating decks that can be proactive. Scout loses tempo matchups. So the way that Scout actually survives tempo matchups is that they find ramp on 3, ramp on 5, and then they find some defensive tool with Sheer Point or some Lookout and some Skeletal Dragon. The issue is that they don't usually have multiple of those tools in their hand because they play on... how would I put this? Scout doesn't have that many good plays between mana 6 and mana 10. And the issue is that Soul Tear plus Skeletal Dragon, Soul Tear plus Sheer Point were great plays for those mana slots. And those are gone now. The 1 extra mana means that your whole post 6 curve moves 1 mana back. So I think that this change is very significant, and you feel it a lot in the non-scout purple decks because they got hurt a lot by this, but even in scout, you will feel it significantly. The second reason the statement that scout got buffed is wrong is because people say that the decks that beat scout got nerfed, but the cards that were nerfed were the cards that were irrelevant against scout. Scout loses to the 1, 2, 3, 4 mana curves. It loses because it has no answer, because it's not a control deck. It doesn't control anything. So the fact that you nerf the other cards that we'll go over later, those cards were just win more cards against Scout, because if you're still curving when you play them, you won anyway, and if you aren't curving when you play them, it doesn't win you the game. And this is why the Solitaire nerf, I think, is a significant nerf, and while I think Scout is still good, it is not true to say it was buffed.
Alright, fine point there. Alright, so, Matt Oblivion. Well, this copy actually activated on me. Please, give your opinions.
Well, I actually largely agree with Roman on this one. Like, even before when Solitaire was 2 mana, even then, using Solitaire to get their defenses back up was not enough for them to survive versus aggro or a very low curve mid range. They just straight up died already, and like Solitaire is just completely irrelevant defensively now, and that is definitely a big deal because defense was their biggest problem. So, like you like. We'll come to this one later as well. Like the Imprison nerf, I don't think Imprison actually particularly hits tokens versus Scout either, because they already have just so many things for them to actually just get rid of those guards, and then 2 mana is not even all that much. Like they can still send in more dudes at the same time. So, like, yes, Ram Scout just got nerfed versus aggro and stuff. Didn't really hit them in the late game, but in the late game, like if they can't win there, then when are they supposed to win?
An excellent point there. So, yeah, and let's head up, folks. Find out why the echo is. I have to mute my own mic. I guess it was picking up on their sounds. So when I mute my mic, you won't hear that. But I agree. I think I just don't like Scout because of these control decks, but that's the way it should be intended, to be honest. So I shouldn't be too salty. But I think, I don't think it's that horrid.
Yeah, like the only thing I'm mildly sad about is like having Solitaire outside of a ramp scout deck. Like if you have it in a deck that doesn't ramp at all, like those decks are really hurt. And like especially like I was having some fun like earlier in the month I got into Legends with a deck that was actually actively winning with Y'all Ball Groove. Like every third or second win was a actual wall plant down. And in that deck, there's also Chanters, and the only 2 mana action I have is Solitaire, and I could look for Broom of Profiteers in order to try to heal with, and then I can't do it. So I'm kind of sad.
Feels bad, man, but I feel you. Solitaire just hit all the purple decks, which I think is a good thing, and then the endurance. But I guess moving on to the most interesting nerf I found, the Supreme Atromancer. Now, I don't think she needed to be nerfed. I hate this card. I always complain about it, but I think she did her job fine. She was supposed to punish the late game decks. I think she did her job well. And they nerfed her at a time where Scout was on the rise, was a little more popular than normal, as well as token decks. So she's been like cut from this, right? When the mid-range blue curve meta was there around, which gave rise to the token meta to kind of counteract because they did well against the mid-range decks and Scouts. Why was she nerfed now of all times? I don't know. I just found that very interesting. So I'm going to throw the pass to Matt this time.
Well, like she's always been a large part of the controversy, and she was always like the top end of the mid-range blue decks, and sometimes also there in like blue control to try to beat out some control mirror type of stuff, or trying to have like the extra pressure versus like Ram Scout. Sometimes I saw control mages do that, like see if they could actually find like 2 back-to-back and just kill them before they actually got like ridiculous. But like nowadays it's more actually just getting them getting rid of all their cards and then just actually being control mage versus them. It's not always all that successful. But yeah, I'm kind of sad. I don't really play a whole lot of Supreme Aftermaster myself. Most of the time, it ended up being a 9-mana lightning bolt because I was already dead to the 4 damage that she dealt. But yeah, like I personally don't think it hurts the Merrick combo battle mage all that much, because how many Merrick battle mages were always literally like banking all in on winning on turn 9? So like it's still playable, but more in a combo shell. And like if you wanna use it as your end game for your mid range, we'll have to see like if that is really the most effective card still. So like using Bone Daddy instead of Sorcerer.
Oh yeah, I think Sorcerer could actually. I think it's kind of cool though, because that does open more cards for like Bone Daddy. I think that card is underplayed and it's really good. I mean, so maybe Sorcerer can maybe get some kind of spot, and Inez can come back, Kappa. But Romanesque, your thoughts on the Atro nerf?
Okay, so I have 2 points to make. One, again, what about Atromancer, and one about Scout again. I'm gonna talk about Scout a lot today. So anyway, so as for Atromancer, first, I think that one point that people lose perspective of in the context of the nerf of Atromancer is that, take for example Hive Defender. Hive Defender is a card that's played in literally every single yellow deck, like literally. And the nice thing about Hive Defender is that it plays multiple roles in different decks. You can use it to control field lane, like a guy with Ward, except with a bunch of HP. You can use it to protect your threats. You can use it to defend yourself. You can use them to basically be a really resilient threat if you want to eventually buff him or something. Like, you can use Hive Defender in multiple ways. Similarly, you can use Atromancer in multiple ways. You can use it as a combo tool, as a 2-turn lethal setup tool in a control deck, or as a top end for a mid-range deck. Now, there is an issue with this. The idea of a color system is that you should be playing cards for different reasons in different colors and different shells, right? And that's why we have color system, because you pick what you need from the colors, and then the color combos have different identities, even though they have similar cards. And the issue is that Atro was used in decks that should be very different, like Sorcerer, Assassin, Mid-Mage. Those decks should be very different, but Atro was used the exact same way. Those decks were exact blue curve decks with Wardcrafter, Daggerfall, and then you have some 4-drop, and then you curve out at Encano Atro. All of them. So those decks that have all the tools to be different, that should play differently, are exactly like forced to go to this blue shell, because Atromancer is so good at being a top end for a mid-range deck that it completely warps the deck building step of making a mid-range deck. Like, if you make a mid-range deck with no Atro, your mid-range deck is just bad. And I think that this happened for 5 months, and that was enough. Like, at some point, if you want mid-range to be an archetype that has rich deck building and varied gameplay, which is tough for mid-range, because mid-range you curve out, right? So it's already tough to have unique playstyles in different mid-range decks. You have to eventually remove Atromancer from mid-range. This has to happen at some point if you want to extend deck building space for mid-range decks in an optimal shell. And that nerf, I'm not sure it was the best way to do that. I would have liked to keep it at 9 mana and nerf the Atronach stats to make it less of a good mid-range tool and more of a good combo tool. But I'm happy that the blue mid-range decks now have to find a different top end. Now, Sorcerer can go towards Bone Colossus, Assassin is kind of wrecked and forced to go anti-aggro, and Mid-Mage is going to have to go more aggro. And I'm excited to see how those archetypes react and redevelop, because those decks are all still good. They just have to be creative and be different and be themselves instead of just curving out. And quickly about the second point, I think Catcher was never good against Scout, except specifically in Merrick as a combo tool, because the blue decks, they all curved at 6 and then had like Oli and Kano to bridge to Atro. So what happened the most often was that he would curve out, beat down the Scout, and then either you won already and Atro is just the lightning bolt, or, well, you just completely missed turn 8 and Atro does nothing for you. Turquoise Link has been making the point on stream for a long time that against Scout, very often in a mid-range deck, Atro is just worse than a Mud Crab. A 1-drop would deal more damage. And I think people are tunnel visioning on Atro because they play control decks. They play decks with no win conditions. For the same reason they raged about Praetorian Commander and Echo of Akatosh that lose to, which the slow decks lose to. Well, they lose to Atromancer, and then they feel bad about it, and then they tunnel vision on that card that beats Scout, even though it really doesn't. And that nerf is not a buff to Scout, and even though it's a nerf to the mid-range blue decks and to Merrick, I'm excited to see how the blue mid-range deck will react to this and adapt, because they have the tools for it.
Superb points. Yeah, that's very interesting you said that. They had to find their own identities. They can't really play the same with slight differences. I agree with that, and I really like that concept. Very interesting point, though, with the Atromancer. So, I guess, and let's see. They did say, they sure have said metagame diversity should improve, right? They want the decks to be diverse. So, makes sense to me. Guess we'll go on to the next card, Shield Breaker, which I never saw anyone complain about, honestly. I think Shieldbreaker was a cool card because it gave aggro something to do. I think before Heroes of Skyrim, aggro was always kind of in a weird place. You played mid-range or control. Aggro was kind of weird, and then this expansion gave them tokens, some tools, and then things like Shieldbreaker were kind of cool. So seeing Shieldbreaker nerfed, I don't have any feelings on it. It's one of those well, I guess it was nerfed. Okay. I didn't really play decks that played it, and against it, it didn't feel like the worst card to play. It was something to think. It was always something to keep in mind, but it didn't really bug me. So now I'll shoot this to Roman. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Shieldbreaker is a good idea. I think that there was 2 problems with this card. Is that in general in card game, especially in a game like Elder Scrolls Legend, in which drawing cards is an effect that has to remain rare to keep the rune system significant, card efficiency has to be monitored and kept in check. And the issue is that Shieldbreaker was extremely card efficient because it had 2 cards inside it. It had the Scimitar and it had the Intimidate. And it had those 2 cards for the sum of their mana cost, which is extreme card efficiency and extreme tempo in the right color for it. And my issue with that is that even though the card in itself was not insanely oppressive, I think that it could have limited design space eventually on the long term, and on the short term, it should be intended as a removal card, right? It's a card it should be more like Spinner than like just a curve card. A card like Spinner should not be played because it's good on curve. Like you play turn 1 Raider, turn 2 Shieldbreaker for no guard, and you're happy about it, right? And honestly, this card, if a card is good enough to be played on curve and excellent as a top deck late game for 2 mana, I think this is a bit too strong, simply because, for the same reason that Warbat was too good because it was supposed to be a prophecy card that you were happy to play on curve. And in short, I think at 3 mana it's unplayable in aggro, and I think that it's still playable maybe in a deck that relies in 1-turn kills or charge style decks, and that will appear eventually. So I don't think the card is dead. I just think it was a bit too good, and for no reason in aggro red. That's all.
Alright, that's a fair point. I can see what you're saying. It was just too efficient, and it really was pretty damn efficient. But I guess, need to be taken care of. And Matt, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Shieldbreaker was probably one of the major cards that was behind Time to Fight Battle Mage, I think. like aside from the 2-mana 1/1 charge dude, and they were just like, okay, we're just gonna ram everything into their face. And Shieldbreaker allowed them to do that, indeed, very, very efficiently. And I can definitely see that like being a problem for the future. Like right now, it was still mildly manageable. Like they ran out of cards relatively quickly. Like if you were still just capable of putting up more guards, like they still only have 3 shield breakers in total. But like if he gets all 3, yeah, like you got 3 different guards, but they're still gonna get destroyed. So kind of like high roll prone, because like the +2 also giving them like the inability to get traded for most of the time. And so it's okay. It's kind of crappy for those aggro decks, but I don't think it's entirely unplayable for aggro, but it definitely slows them down, and that's fair.
It's playable. Just shortly, it's playable in non-red aggro decks. The issue in red aggro decks is that red aggro has the best turn 3 in the game. Like they have, you want to play like 15 turn 3s of mono red aggro already, so it's just hard to fit it there. But in non-mono red aggro, it's still playable. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like you don't want to put it on a charge creature. You want to put it on a creature that's already there that has pretty decent mana efficient stats, and then just go ahead and use that to roll on further.
Yes.
Yeah, I concur with those statements. Now, another interesting card is Imprison and Detain. For people wondering why Detain was nerfed, it's because just to keep it, consistent. It is the
Or just like Expert Ultramancer.
Exactly.
Poor Expert Thatcher, who's really bad.
Yeah.
Please buff Expert Ultramancer Kappa, but alright. Imprison nerf was... it was pretty interesting to me. I wondered, I don't know, I feel like this nerf was too fast to happen. I think maybe it needed to happen because it's very powerful for tokens to have such efficient removal now that they're everywhere. But I think tokens just coming to rise recently, right? I kind of felt like I wanted to see, before this nerf happened, I wanted to see if it maintained, right? Because remember, first HOS happens, Scout rises, and then the blue curve decks come, and then to counteract that, the token decks came. Because they were pretty efficient against both, and it was cool to see the meta evolve like that without really needing a balance patch too much. But we did have one earlier, I believe. I can't remember what that was. Oh, that was Commander and all that jazz. Poor Echo, gutted for no reason. But anyway, I wouldn't. I just probably needed to happen. I would have liked to see it maybe wait just to see. So now we'll toss this for Matt for his opinion.
I'm alright with this. Like it's not going to hurt them very much in the matchup they were currently good in. Like versus Ramp doesn't really matter. Versus Goblins, a little. Like it definitely hurt Goblins, but Goblins, if you want to win with Goblins, you have to trade everything, so it's already pretty hard to do to get the actual Imprison in. But like I don't think it is that large of a deal. Like if you don't get any of the actual summon multiple yellow creature cards, you might be in a little bit of trouble if you want to use it versus the Hive Defender, and that is fair. Like you can still use a Cloudless Illusionist to try to get to a Hive Defender, so like it's a little bit more expensive. They can push a little less, give a little, like a teeny tiny little bit of room for that control player or that mid-range player to get themselves back in there by just denying them an extra 1 mana card. But overall, I think it's fine.
Alright, and Roman, your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to talk as someone who has kind of championed token decks on ladder, especially Crusader, and in tournaments in the past month with reasonable success, even though I didn't win anything and I got 3-0'd a lot. And I think that it's important to realize why Elder Scrolls Legends is a better game than Hearthstone. And this is linked to what we're talking about, I promise. The dangerous things about card games is that you're always going to have RNG, right? You have draw RNG, which you have draw RNG that should be the biggest RNG usually, and it is in this game. You have to be scared of binary RNG. For example, binary RNG is an RNG event, or random events, in which the difference of outcome between a positive and a negative roll is so great that it warps the result of the game more than the decisions of the player. For example, if you have a card that says, well, it's a 50-50, if you hit, you get a 4-4, and if you miss, you get a 1-1 for 3 mana. Well, that card would be very toxic, because if someone plays it and they get the 4-4 every time, well, suddenly they're oppressively good. And if they miss it, well, the card is unplayable. And this card could be more reasonable if it was a 2-4 or a 4-2 for 2 mana instead of that very far difference. Like a good example card of this is Implosion in Hearthstone. Implosion was a card that for 4 mana dealt a random number between 2 and 4 damage to a minion and summoned that many 1/1 tokens. So the difference between dealing 4 and summoning 4 tokens and dealing 2 and summoning 2 tokens is so insane that the result of the roll defines the rest of the game. And the issue with Imprison is that Imprison is a random halfway, random depending on how is the rest of your draw, between the worst card in the game and the best card in the game. Depending on what the other cards you draw are, Imprison is either the most dead card you would put in your deck. Like it's worse than, it's a 2 mana equivalent of Paralyze, the 0 mana drain card, or it's a 2 mana Javelin, which is really, really powerful. And the issue was that this card was oppressive in a way, because basically if you can't play around it, because you can't play around reinforcements in prison. Like there's no way you play around that, because then you play around ghosts all the time. So you have to play into it and you get wrecked by it. And it feels really bad to lose to a card you can't play around because it's too binary like this. And this is why I like to see this nerf. They're trying to, the best way to address a card that's too binary is to nerf its power level a bit, which is what they're doing here. The card is still playable, it's just a bit nerfed, so that it's not an auto-include. If it's not an auto-include, then people have to make a meaningful decision to include it. So the binary RNG card, it's not a real RNG, right? It depends on your other draws, so it's still somewhat healthy, but at least the binary RNG card, you have to think about if you want to run the risk of including it or not, which you didn't have to for 1 mana. For 1 mana, if you have a bunch of tokens, you always put it in, because even at the worst, it's 1 mana Shackle. It's only 1 mana away from being a playable card and constructed, even in the worst case. So that's why I like this nerf. It just makes the card more decision heavy than it was before.
Yeah, that's fair.
Alright, fair points. A fine point. Okay, well, geez, okay. That was a very insightful actually looking at the card of Imprison. I like this concept of binary RNG. Either the best card or worst card. Yeah, either extremely efficient removal or just a really bad paralyze. Huh. Okay. So I kind of swing that. I can agree with this. And wait, did we start with Matt or Roman this time? I forget. I'm sorry. I'm assuming I started with Matt, right? I swung it to you first. All right. So, do you have a thoughts on Imprison, Matt, or do we get to that already? Sorry, gotta.
Yeah, we already. I
Alright,
went
cool.
on Imprison already.
Splendid. All right. And I apologize for that slight echo you're probably going to hear there, folks. But here's a card I'm really glad I got nerfed. Thief of Dreams. Super happy. I mean, I think it got over nerfed, personally. I think just taking the 1 stat from HP would have been fine. But, geez. Turning into a 4-4. Ugh, I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, it's a very powerful card. You get to, even if you guess wrong, you now know, it's like reveal, it becomes a 5 mana 5/5. Reveal a card in an opponent's hand. You guess it right, not only you get that information, but you also get a copy of said card. Man. Maybe because it's a blue card, blue already has some sweet, sweet, sweet stuff to begin with. I think think Thief didn't need to be blue. Well, I guess it had to with this kind of effect, right? But I'm kind of glad it got nerfed, but I don't know if it needed to be nerfed this heavy. But I'm very glad it got hit. So, yeah. I will swing this to Romanesque and just give his thoughts.
Okay, so as I said earlier a couple times, I think that the important part of a game with the color system is that meaningful, no, not meaningful, deck building must remain meaningful, and so cards that are auto-include have to be double-checked so that they're included for different reasons, right? Otherwise, everyone plays the same deck after a while. And for the same reason, the Astro Nerf, I think, was necessitated, even if it's not by pure power level, just in order to keep things not fresh, but dynamic. I think that Thief of Dreams was a to include in any mid-range blue deck because it was already, it still is the only playable blue 5-drop. Literally the only one. Name one blue 5-drop except Thief of Dreams.
There's that 2/3 that draws a card for every card your opponent drew.
Yeah, that's my point. And this is why, if it's going to be, it still is the best, the only playable. It's still playable, right? It's not great. It's still playable. It's a 4/4 that gives you a card sometimes that gives information all the time. And so the fact that even after getting what Jim called over nerf, still the best blue 5-drop means that there was a big problem with it being auto include. You don't have a 5/5 for 5 plus that good of an upside available for the best mid-range decks in the game. That's just silly. And I think that the nerf was justified, and I like it being a 4/4 because in this game, they have been very consistent with making card draw be very expensive because it keeps the rune system meaningful. When I play as control against a mid-range deck, I don't want him to play a 5/5 and 2-for-1 me every time with a high tempo card that he would play happily. Like, you're happy to find a 5/5 on 5 in your deck suddenly, even if he misses the effect. I think it's just too much in one card simply, and it didn't go well with the other cards they released that had draw effect. Like, for example, compared to the pickpockets, like the 2/2 for 3 and the 2/2 for 4 available to Mage, the fact that Control Mage would choose to play Thief of Dreams, which is supposed to be a super mid-range card, just means that it was too good. It should be included in different decks for different reasons. And I think they're enforcing this, and I'm happy to see it.
Superb point. Regarding blue 5-drops, Rolandro Hexamage says, I'm kind of okay. But, yeah, I was actually looking at the 5-drops. Wow, they are booty. Jeez.
Yeah, they're kind of sad.
Blue 5-drops. College of Winter is okay, but that doesn't give you a body. Yeah, so I'm actually glad this is a 4/4. Yeah, F this card. But let's see. So, Matt, your thoughts?
Well, like, I totally agree. Like, it was severely overstated. Like, Hexmage has his own cool combo stuff, but Thief of Dreams just play a 5/5. Nah, I'm fine with playing a 5/5 on 5, and then also draw a card. Oh, and give him information about my opponent. Oh, and wait, that card is also probably more expensive than what I just played myself because my opponent hasn't played it yet. Well, then, I guess I just locked out. Like, there's just so many good things about that. Like, being a 4/4, sure, it doesn't trade the Thorn Hismage anymore. You just drew a card or gained information as well. Like, you're still getting more stuff actively. Like, if you play this against the Thorn Hismage and you get a Sheer Point Dragon out of it, you still kill the Thorn Hismage. So, yeah, like, it was a really good card. And now it's still really good. It's just not, like, necessarily ridiculously strong versus literally everything in mid-range.
Exactly. The information portion really gets you because they know what card to ban. And the crazy thing is stealing like a Manticore or something, or even like Parthenax or Oblivium. I've had these all stolen from me. And so it's just like, oh, I had to deal with your 5/5 on curve. And then later on in the game, that resonating effect of having to deal with Parthenax or Oda or the Manticore from a blue deck, nonetheless. That's not Mage even, was this like, feels bad, man. And he knew I had the part. And the scary thing is, he can now play around the cards. And that's
Because they know you have it in your hand currently, and they just took it from you. Like, oh hey, he has a Manticora in his hand. He did not know which card I was allowed to pick. And guess what? I also got the Manticora, so I took his Manticora. He Manticoras me. I Manticora him. Oh, and yeah.
For those wondering why I keep opening the screen capture software, so for some reason, OBS is using my mic is picking up on Discord. For some reason, it's like so it causes an echo. It's causing an echo effect.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know why in the hell the mic is picking up on the Discord sounds. It might have to do with my headphones potentially. I'm using maybe they're a bit damaged and they're leaking, but I actually have no idea what that's. Yeah, my. If I hit speak really quick.
Me? No, but no one wants that. So
Yeah,
your last half an hour.
Alright, stop. Too much. It's echoing. Like crazy. Yeah, like sorry, I just don't need you to say like a one word on me. But yeah, so it's like picking up on all this, which is just weird to me. And I don't know, we could potentially which one are you using? Advanced Real Tech. Yeah, that's my microphone. No, that's what that's just the way it is. Alright, so we're just gonna keep on trekking on with these patch notes. Look into this. Oh, we're down to the buffs now. We'll do those all at once. I'm going to let's see, Brynholf. That's pretty awesome. That I'm always glad to see buffs. It's like adding cards to the card pool without actually adding cards to the card pool. I'm seeing people test out Brynholf. It's a J would be Jaeger. It'd be a Y sound, so Brynjolf. Alright, and then Cliffside Lookouts. Okay. And the Young Dragonborn, I don't think people are going to start playing this card still. I mean, it's a start though, maybe. So I will toss this one off to, I think it's Matt now.
Yeah, so Ringyolf being having that 5th HP is definitely very meaningful. I'm not entirely sure how much it's gonna get added, but it's definitely an addable thing. Like there's plenty of 4/4s to trade for. Like gaining health is also really good. Gaining the extra mana could be very interesting. I'm not too sure about like having a reliable actual trying to play around with the extra mana gain because it's a unique card and all, so you can't really have faith in that. But just having a 4/5 drain card for 5, it's just a slightly cheaper Night Shadow that doesn't give your opponent a card when you hit him in the face. So hey, that's something. Cliffside Lookout, as a 2/5, I encountered one and I just, how do I trade for that thing? And the only good part about the fact that it's not going to be a massive thing probably is because you can't really just say, you know what, fine, we'll play a monk, we'll play the guard dragon and the move dragon and all the dragons, and just he's gonna be big, because you then still need to draw them, which honestly just seems to be impossible when I tried off stream. And they're especially the yellow 4 and 5 manas aren't all that special, so they're really just there for energy. So sure, if you can turn it into a 3/6 on turn 4, that's pretty silly. But overall, I think he's just super solid. That is still kind of hard to play because of the shell you have to put it in. And the same goes for Young Dragonborn. You still need to draw those shouts. I had somebody actually play Young Dragonborn, and the next turn triple drain Vitality my board, and it still sucked. But that was also then it was a 3/2. But I think I just lethalled it with an Archer's Gambit. It's still vulnerable to everything else. And if you do actually manage to find a dragon for it to kill, most likely the Prophecy Dragon from blue, and then sure, get yourself an extra shout. But that's not like getting. You can only really play with a +1/+1, and since there's only 6 of those shouts in your deck, yeah, like it's generally going to be a 3-mana 3/3, and if you're lucky, a 3-mana 4/4. So that might be able to stay alive after trading.
That's a fair point. All right, Romanesque, your thoughts?
Okay, so first, the Brynjolf buff is insane. I play a lot of control decks. I play a lot of Undying Dragons. I have one myself. I call him Bob. And this dragon saves my ass basically every game. And I think it's really powerful. And I played 3 of it. And I think that Brynjolf is a strictly better version of it. Because even if it weren't 1 mana less, it doesn't break your own when you go face with it, which is a really big deal. And on top of it, the mana effect is really powerful. Like, not the other guys, but just itself. It gives you an extra mana when it hits. And that means that you play it you ring it up turn 4, you attack face with it, and then you play a turn 6 this turn without using the ring. And that's really good. So it's a 1 mana cheaper Undying Dragon that heals for 1 less but doesn't break runes, and ramps you up every time it attacks. And it survives against everything that doesn't have javelins in the deck. I think this card should be played in every green deck that's not aggressive. Like, and by aggressive I mean face. Like, you don't play it in goblins, but in everything else, basically.
I can agree.
As for the lookout, I think the card itself is really good, but it suffers from the Mechanical Ally issue, which is Mechanical Ally is a super good card. It shows that you have to play bad cards to run it. And Monk just doesn't have good dragons, except Sheerpoint and Undying, which are all turn 6. So your turn 3 guy is kind of sad, because if you play him, you have to play all the 4-drop dragons, which are not very good. Like, they're the worst card in the deck. You can play them, and it's going to be decent, but I mean, in the future, it might be really good. As of right now, it's probably okay. Like, you play it in Monk Dragon, but I don't think it's enough to make Monk Dragon a good deck. Finally, Young Dragonborn, well, it's better in Arena now, so that's something.
That's something.
That's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Now, I also don't really see that many more dragons being released, because Skyrim was the one with all the dragons, and like they were resurrected during Skyrim, and then they got put to rest during Skyrim. So, like,
yeah,
we'll have to see what they do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping the next few monthlies would be dragons to keep the theme up. Like, I was kind of hoping for some dual class dragons. That would be kind of cool. But maybe that might be too much synergy for the dragon decks. Because God forbid Scout gets another card and I stop. Alright, let's see. I think that is the buffs. So I guess we get to the controversial point we're going to is vodcasting and current state of Twitch. So right now you can all see my screen. It's not too bad, right? I mean, we had some vodcasts here and there, but we can see Gym Class Hero is in fact number 1. We can see everything else. But I think, this is what's interesting. I was talking to some other players. There are nights though, and definitely happens more at night, right? Because I guess more people are sleeping. Well, nights I should say in Eastern Standard Time, because this times where there is this a few streamers and like 20 vodcasts, and it's a bit odd. I mean, our numbers are nice. If I look at the game right now, we are at 3.9k viewers. That's pretty good. We're beating out the card games. Actually, I have all the main card games. I guess I don't follow Hearthstone, and Shardbound's not really relevant. But Twitch-wise, we are beating Gwent and Shadowverse and Eternal. Actually, numbers-wise, I do believe Gwent is a little higher, to be honest. But that's a different story. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later. But to hop into the vodcast statement, there was a post by Furo, I believe, who brought up a good point that long-term effects of these vodcasts. What does that show? I mean, the numbers seem to be growing, right? So it doesn't seem like is that scary, and it does put us near like the top of the front page on Twitch. Like if I were to hop onto Twitch right now, look at the top games. Let's see. Let's see. We're not even. Oh god! Don't play that. Stop. All right. I hate autoplay things, by the way. On the side note. All right. So whichever. I hate when videos just autoplay. That really upsets me. I'm like, why? So we're up there. Like you can see us. I mean, if you scroll down a bit. Oh, geez. Never mind. I lied to all of you. I just saw us, but then we got removed. It seems. Okay, Elder Scrolls Legends. We're up there. We're
And next to Black Desert.
Yeah, we're near Black Desert. We're beating Dead by Daylight. We're beating Destiny. StarCraft just had its huge remaster, so I believe they're all under the normal StarCraft. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Kind of surprised that by Daylight still has that many viewers.
I agree. I mean, it's pretty insane to see. Like, I'm looking at this. We're beating out Smite, if anyone cares, Dark Souls. Like, we're beating the popular games. But are these numbers artificial? And and do they matter? Like in the long run, is it going to be really great for us to have all these, all these kind of people just watching for the drops? I mean, personally, it's nice to, I'm seeing people get partnered more rapidly, which is awesome. I know that's good for the streamer wise. And I think Bethesda being able to have these numbers can kind of show, look, people are watching us, right? Like, we have numbers, and I think, I do think the vodcast can be off-putting, though. I don't want to, dig through Reddit to find those posts. They're really, maybe, I mean...
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to dig through that. But he had some good points, though, about, is it sustainable in the long run? It is going to be a problem. But I talked enough. Let me send this over to... I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so I can, tab out and tab back in. If I find the post, I'll share screens again. But let me shoot this over to Matt. You seem to be interested in this topic.
Well, have you guys ever heard of playlists? Have you?
What do you mean playlist? Like you can like the podcasts are a playlist.
There is a system on Twitch called playlists. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Playlists are something that are older than vodcasts and are literally vodcasts, except for the fact that they show up in a directory. And then, a year later, they suddenly introduced vodcasts. And at the time, everybody was like, why are these playlists showing up in the live directories? And everybody was like, what? No, I already said why. But anyway, everybody agreed that if everybody were suddenly to use that, that would mean that you would never see a new streamer again. You would only see somebody whoever is already popular, currently using the vodcast to get himself to that one entire directory. So people have mostly refrained from using it. There are a few channels that sometimes use it, when they have their day off, they'll have their normal stream time of vodcast, or maybe Dance Gaming during his horror month or something. But in general, they don't get used a whole lot because it just feels anti-Twitch. You don't interact with your audience. Your audience is not confused, wasn't this an interactive platform? So it all becomes kind of weird. And in Elder Scrolls Legends, it became just so large. There were so many vodcasts that if somebody who didn't know about the game, or somebody who was new to Twitch, didn't really know about that, especially the people who are new to Twitch. What is this vodcast? I've heard of Twitch before, and you can talk to people and such, and then I come here and where is everybody? Like, I'm trying to ask a question, but who am I supposed to ask it to if apparently I'm being entirely ignored? And that goes against everything I feel Twitch is for. So I stand with basically all of Twitch to say don't have them in the live directories. I don't care whether or not they get drops or anything. Just don't let people specifically look for vodcasts. Go to the actual channels if you know already who you're looking for, and otherwise let people just use Twitch because we like talking to each other. And well, sure, there's always lurkers, but that is just the way of Twitch.
Excellent points. Personally, I like talking to myself more than all of you, Cap, but now. But I found the post actually. I have it up for everyone. Here's the image. The following was visible. That yeah. So as you can see, early on, you have I believe Furo streams much earlier than I do in the morning because he's on. It may be evening for him actually because he's in Germany. I don't know. Times are so crazy. But needless to say, it's around the time Matt streams, right? So here's Matt in the number one spot. 2 and 3 are vodka. No, 2, 3, 4 are vodcast. Then you get a normal person in the 5 spot, and then 6, 7, 8 are vodcast, and then the 9 and 10 spots are humans again. I think this just kind of, like you said, you want to interact with someone, you want to talk, ask a question if you're a newer player, and it's kind of, it does hurt streamers, I think. If you're a newer streamer, like Vodcast can run 24/7, so if you're a newer streamer and you try to get some viewerships, they're already kind of sitting there watching their cast, kind of relaxing, or they're just farming drops anyway. Let's see, stealing viewers, that is the main trend. I'd say I'm going to read this one paragraph. Furo says, this is a multi-layer problem. First of all, the trend continues. The majority of all streams for TESL will be vodcasts. That is then stealing viewers from people who are really doing some live streaming, discouraging new streamers who will have a hard time to compete against the 24/7 vodcast, giving a bad overall picture of the game for anyone who is joining the Twitch section. If you are not familiar with Twitch, you might have to check out other games, and you will see that running a vodcast is rarely used. Normally, the competition is too high to have success just by running videos in comparison to a live, engaging stream, so no one really goes for it. But apparently, with drops, people are embracing every chance to increase their chances, which will most likely also be the reason why there will be a strong opposition to this post. Right now, there is a stream live vodcast instant. Alright, we'll just go there. Link had a good post, but I did kind of keep talking, and I do want to give Romanesque the chance to give his thoughts. Go.
Okay, so Matt made multiple great points. Like, I will not go over what Matt said because I agree with literally everything he said. I will make a parallel point about another dimension of this issue, and this is the drops. Like, the problem that vodcasts are described as live, like listed as live on Twitch, is a Twitch-wide problem that only really appears in communities in which there is an upside in watching a vodcast over a normal stream. Which in TSL there is a perceived upside of watching a vodcast over a stream, is that the vodcast tells you in the title that you're going to have drops for basically 24 hours, and the stream, well, streamers host other streamers, right? So you still get drops. It's just that it's not as obvious for the player who has like 8 seconds to decide on which stream to watch. He just clicks on the vodcast and goes to work. And I think that the problem with this is, and I got into a lot of trouble on Reddit for defending this, is that Bethesda, or Direwolf or whatever, like Bethesda had the idea of drops because drops simulates viewership, but it's not purely artificial. People come and try out the game and look at the free stuff and see the video, and like they are kind of incentivized to consume some of the content produced by great content creators around the game, and so it stimulates the creation of content, and any online community thrives around content creation. And you can see this for Hearthstone, for example. Hearthstone has extremely good content of literally every kind. And the game is thriving not because of this, but it's a part of any thriving game. And I think that the drops have the upside of helping content creators. The issue is when you give Vodcast opportunity to give drops and be listed as live. This means that for someone who just wants to get views and eventually ad revenue, it makes a lot more sense to run a 24-hour vodcast than to stream. And so there's an incentive to not create content over create content because it's more rewarding. And even though streaming is rewarding for other reasons, right? People stream because they enjoy streaming because it's really fun, but they don't stream because it maximizes their revenue. So while Bethesda has the opportunity to make the drop system a way to stimulate content creation, for example, people like Link or I or a bunch of other streamers basically came back to the game at the moment where the drops were available, and the drops helped getting a lot of those streamers, partnered once, but also just let them get more revenue and justify spending more time developing their stream. And this is kind of a circle, right? The more your stream is successful, the more time you have to stream, and the better it is, and then the more successful it becomes. And if every stream enters that circle, then the game as a whole becomes more successful, and that's something that's proven. But my point is that, in short, the giving Vodcasts both drops and being listed in live is bad on the long term, because Bethesda is missing an opportunity of using the drops as an incentive for building the community. And I think that in itself should be enough for them to realize that Vodcast should not give drops if they are to stay listed under live things, because that's a Twitch-wide thing, which might be more complicated to change.
Right, that is a superb point, I think, all around. I mean, I do think, at the end of the day, I think actually looking at this post, people touch upon the fact that, the drops benefit Bethesda as well. So enabling drops for Vodcast, which are constantly running, doesn't really hurt them. But at the same time, Bethesda has shown interest in helping content creators with their weekly stream, having they had a few content creators already. They had Justin, CVH, and I believe Charmer on there as their creators. So the show that as well doing card reveals, which helps, So maybe if these discussions happen, we can see that in the long term being changed. Oh, also I'd like to thank Snacksy Man for the post there that went through while we were talking. Give it a chance, but that's awesome. But I think the saturation. It's not. Hard to say, right? Because as you can see, the Twitch streams are still growing, and we are 7 away from 5K people. Thank you, but we're growing, right? Elder Scrolls is continuing growing Twitch wise. So it's really hard to say, if we have, the best player base, the biggest player base, the largest player base. Because if this show Gwent, I believe, is a tad bit larger. But Matt, you seem like you were gonna say something. I cut you off, please.
Well, yeah, I had actually another argument as to why actual active streams are better over VODs, because that's actually also part of Bethesda's strategy. Not only do they bump up Elder Scrolls Legends in the list so people see it more, but as I said, the interactivity earlier. But if you have that interactivity, somebody says something in chat and there's a bunch of people saying hi back, there's also a whole lot of more of a sense of community. And if you have people to talk to, you're more inclined to keep playing because you're playing with them. You can discuss why to do something and why to not do something. And especially doing that on something in a live platform and being able to just chat with other people, even if it's a chat completely unrelated to the streamer itself, Like that it happens all the time where I'm just like continuing to play the game and somebody asks something and I answer them and somebody else answers them and then somebody else goes further through with that answer and it if you have a community like that, then it gives them a better reason to also stick in the game. It gives you more player retention. But yeah, that's actually something I wanted to add.
I find that to be an excellent point. Yeah, that kind of like interactivity is wonderful and it's good. It makes us look good, you know. You can go into just about any stream and talk to the streamer, and you can have discussion, and it's nice because you know I love the Elder Scrolls Legends because we're like a tight knit group. I'm not sure. I will say I'm not sure how the other card games is. I think maybe Eternal's like this as well. Though, like I'll constantly see like more than one streamer in every chat. You know, like I'll hop to I can be in my stream right now. You can see several streamers are and high level players, not just streamers, but like high level players. You get the Nerazari, Bradford's here. I mean, I'm looking through it at Levios. You have like a lot of people just and when you ask a question, you get like 4 or 5 answers. Either you get a consensus or you get a discussion. You get a group of people saying, "Yeah, this is what you should play as your one job," or you get a group of people saying, "Well, you get different opinions." I remember one time I was in a Lateralis stream. It was like me, Link, Lateralis, and a couple other players. We're discussing what's the best 4-drop slot in Sorcerer, and we had like 3 different groups on deciding what you should be playing there, and that's nice because and then a new player can see that and get a lot of opinions and thought process, and also kind of get engaged more engaging, makes it more fun and interactive. I hate to say that meme, but it truly is fun and interactive on that front, and I think that just makes the experience more richer. There's a more rich experience of gaming, and that's what Twitch is about: showing games, but also interacting with more than just a streamer, but a community. Now, one interesting argument I'm seeing against people are saying this argument. I think it should be addressed. People are defending Vodcast by saying that if you cannot compete with a video, you should just improve your content.
That's a pretty big insult.
Right?
That's a pretty big insult.
I mean, this is the part where you have to remember this is Reddit. So
I have to also add one thing to that. That guy's account was 1 day old during when he made those comments. So take it as you will.
All right, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. Then that's the argument we're getting. We're getting like, and I want to address that because I think that's the defending point. We should be able to counteract that. And like you have so many variety streams. You have like Link and Romanesque who give in-depth commentary, and then you have people like me and Matt who play kind of meaty fun decks. Like, what kind of content are I often wonder. Like, I'd like to improve my content. Hey, I like updated my setup a bit. I mean, sure, my mic's still like I'm on a yellow submarine, but trust me, I used to use my laptop mic. For those who remember my old streams, and trust me, this is
yeah, those were true terror.
That was god awful. So we're totally proving. Hey, I put out a podcast that's been maintained weekly, actually, which is we all mix it up with content. Everyone plays. You'll see even high level players like Bradford or Turquoise or Romanesque. You'll see VH. You'll see them play some fun decks. Heck, I've done coaching sessions. I know Romanesque has done coaching. We've mixed up the content. And it's like up your content is is it a straw man or just an all around, I think, unfair points. Because Vodcast run 24/7 and they always put drops activated in their titles, right? So they try to farm the viewers who are looking for drops. And there is still confusion even now that I'll see people asking various streams, even mine, are drops activated here? And just a heads up, they're activated in every stream, Elder Scrolls Legends stream, so long as you have,
link your account and that person's stream needs to be active under Elder Scrolls Legends, aka how you found it, and then you will get them. It's RNG, but you'll get them.
It's all you just gotta trust in the heart of the RNG, and you will be rewarded.
Or you could use a pot of greed, but I don't think that works on Twitch drops.
So let's. So you heard my thoughts on the counterpoint. I think, man. So Romanesque, you're kind of quiet. Your thoughts on the point that we should just up our content, improve our streams.
Well, actually, I attempted to discuss with that person for over 12 messages, and he was insulting me through the messages. But he was still trying to make points about it, which I will summarize here. Basically, he was saying that the issue is that I am not including drops in my title, which is why I don't get the drop farmers in my channel, because they don't know my channel has drops. And there's also the issue that I am not streaming all the time, so sometimes when I'm not streaming, they will lose out on drops. And he told me that I should be streaming instead of commenting on Reddit to complain about other people having better content than me. So, well, the thing I like about those people is that it's so easy to have a constructive discussion and address the real issues together to make things better. Like, you have to be careful to not give too much voice to a very, very vocal small minority.
I definitely agree with that point. I mean, yeah. I mean, you get these. I just found that was an interesting counterpoint. I've heard it. I've heard this echoing though. See, I've been in other streams and even in my own stream, we've talked about, what are podcasts, what's going on with those, are they healthy, are they not? And I've seen people very strongly, almost to the point of attacking, saying, you should just improve your podcast. I mean, your podcast. Oh, Jesus, your stream, and it's like. We do try to put as the most meaningful content that we can. But, I mean, I don't think that's a fair point, Especially, when a podcast is 24/7, it'll suck up viewers and they'll be in there. Not all of them are AFK, just fine. Some are interacting. I don't want to attack any of the podcasters. I think it's fine. It's something you can use. It's a tool, and I think it should be used. And you're not breaking any rules. It is just it's a tool that was provided to optimize potential stream time, and it synergizes with the what do you call it? The Twitch drops and broadcasts do synergize perfectly. It's two combo piece. we all like combo decks. So I think that just I guess my closing thoughts it's definitely we're seeing a viewership increase, but will this eventually prevent new content creators from coming in, and will it cause current content creators to potentially drop out? As there's people who are like tinkering who are trying to grow their streams out and are like getting there and they're getting some recognition, but they feel like they're losing out to the podcasters a bit, and they're trying to build up. And I know I got really lucky. I started in the time, the game was young, and I was able to kind of hop in and get some love there. But only time will tell. Right now, we're seeing the viewership increase, but I think we are seeing people discouraged. So
yeah, like actual attempting the stream, it's hard enough to go up in a directory that has a lot of more popular streamers. Like in Elder Scrolls Legends case, like aside from like that one podcast that's always up there, and then the top streamer that's currently there, there's not that many, but because there's so many vodcasts, and those vodcasts that are there always. So you have to you start as a new streamer at 0, and there's 20 people that are guaranteed to be above you no matter what time of day. So you can't try to dodge them to see if there's like a point of day where you can fill in the gap where there's nobody online or less people online at the very least, because they are just always there. Like that is like one of the few strategies you can do as a streamer. Be there when the amount of people watching arguably is also low, but the amount of people streaming is even lower. And if there's a shit ton of Vodcast there, you can attempt to do so. So when you're then hoping for that first viewer to say hello, you're already maybe a week in. And I already had, like, when I first started, and I got up to like 20 viewers for after like a couple of weeks, and I stayed at that for months. But I quite often had, just because of that, the time of day that I streamed was like during exactly when everybody was at work or at school, so nobody chatted. And I at one point I just said, "Is my chat broken?" And then a few people said hi. And someone, there my voice is good. Okay, if you say so. So I just kept doing my thing. But like actually having somebody to talk to is just so encouraging. It's quite incomprehensible if you never if you've never streamed yourself. And that is also something that is definitely going to get you down. And a lot of people that have never tried to do so have will definitely not really understand.
Yeah, definitely solid closing thoughts. Romanesque, did you have any closing thoughts as well?
Closing thought for this topic or the podcast? The podcast? No, the podcast.
Stop, Romanesque.
No! Oh God, he's gonna actually put this down 24/7. Using our great topics and everything to just lure
I'm
everybody in.
tired.
You've
And
opened
then
your...
like he just puts an overlay that's that says "drops here, get them." Oh.
I'm sorry.
Would that be a scumbag move? Like, I just like, all you gotta do is like, instead of like hosting someone, just start a podcast of the same thing, and this one drops enabled podcast for Romanesque. Do that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that reminds me of an episode of Dropped Frames. Have you guys ever heard of that show? Dropped Frames. It's a show hosted by Ezekiel the Third, It Me JP, and Co Carnage. So like three fairly well known amongst like Twitch variety stuff. But one time because Vodcasts were just introduced, they were like, okay, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna start the show. Don't let anybody know. The first 15 minutes of that show were Vodcast, and nobody could tell because there was nothing. It just didn't show. So everybody was watching a Vodcast, and then they came, like, they shut down the stream and came online actually, and they were like, gotcha. And like, fuck. Like, it's just so hard. God.
Alright. But that was awesome. Alright. So, we, jeez. Yeah, that is great discussion, great topics. Definitely, I guess this is the last part of the stream. This podcast has been going on a little longer. We got a lot of good thoughts and ideas going on. So I would like to open a little bit up to some questions. So feel free in this next, probably a shorter portion of questions for this stream as we are.
Quite a bunch of people actually ask what we think about the new teaser card, like the art that they teased.
Oh, that
Have you seen
vampire!
that?
Yeah, I have seen that. So either a sorcerer or a purple card. As the trend with vampires, they are all purple.
Yeah, like at first when I didn't zoom in, it kind of looked like a dark elf. But so I was saying assassin, but yeah, it's definitely a vampire. Like if you zoom in a little, 100%. I want to go for sorcerer then as well, yeah. Because dual colored cards just make more sense right now. Like having a couple of months of dual colored in a row makes all the sense.
Are you sure this is not a red guard having a really bad day?
No, if you zoom in, like the gray skin, red eyes, a little pointed ear, like it could be the fact that the dark elf is like what it was before a vampire. But if you zoom in on its mouth, you definitely see like some blood underneath. And if you look at its like the little arch between its eyebrows, that is definitely the face of a vampire.
Yeah, but then it's way too predictable. Like, how
Yeah,
do you
fair
keep
enough.
place for surprise and excitement in life? If I expect a red guard, I have better chances of being surprised.
It's fair enough. Fair enough. That's a goblin with a mask. Oh, please, me. But yeah, no, that is so. That is definitely a vampire. But somebody also pointed out in my chat that the belt he's wearing is the same as a belt from somebody from the Dawn Guard expansion, and that's all about vampires and werewolves. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Superb point. But let me. I'm gonna go for only 3 questions this time. I think that's a fair amount. So let's see. That's a Goblin Mask. Any questions? Ray Barker. Gym class hero. Will this actually change? Will Twitch do anything? Will X, Y, or what has to happen? Well, Twitch won't do a thing about that because vodcasting is something they introduced because they wanted to give content creators the ability to cover more ground. Like it was for, I think the intention was for like events. It's like huge tournament, but the Monday tournament cast is great. Unfortunately, EU folks, it's like midnight, 3 in the morning or so for them. So they would like to, sleep like a normal human being. So I think that's vodcasts are a great way to say. I did that a couple times actually with my podcast and with the Monday tournament I cast. I think it would be a great chance for to show this to hey, I can actually show this. I'd like to vodcast this podcast for people who couldn't catch it either in the morning or night. But this one's interesting though because it came at a time that's not too bad, right? It's for anyone.
You're gonna join them.
Join the dark side. In fact, I just needed fuel for my podcast. All right, but your 2 thoughts on the question that was asked? All right, no thoughts. That's cool. We'll just keep on trekking, try to get past as best we can. I know it's late. Okay. Bradford Lee asked, Gym class hero question. Long time listener, first time caller. Thanks for having me. If you could be a creature type, which would you be? Redguard or Argonian? Redguard or Argonian. What about you, Matt?
A red Argonian? Really? You want a lizard man?
Redguard or Argonian? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a chance you want to be a lizard man.
By the hist. Aid me, yeah.
I end up always going for Breton in the games as well because they have some magic. They're still fairly human and all, and I like being able to do a little bit of everything and then just switch around whatever I need to be, aka a stealth archer in Skyrim. But
of course. And Romanesque, your thoughts? What would you?
Well, honestly, Argonians are more closely related to salmon, and they can swim pretty well. So I have to go Argonian for this. But honestly, I would just rather be a salmon directly, but maybe I have to evolve towards that so I can be patient.
Well, to be honest, being an Argonian or a salmon or whatever would be very useful as being Dutch because, our entire country being underwater already, it would be very useful to actually breathe then. So
that's
yes,
true.
Sure, fair.
That's
actually fair.
If you start vodcasting, you can just die and it's okay.
Oh yeah, exactly. In my computer will probably stay dry because it's on the 2nd floor.
Exactly.
Outstanding. All right. Let's see. One more question then. It is from Lead MILF. Can Matt Oblivion whisper for the stream asking for a friend? Or is that Levios? Oh, I think they both asked that, so we're getting to
I probably shouldn't. That's not a good idea at all. Don't do it.
Alright, awesome. Alright, folks. Well, oh god, they're spamming it now. I'd like to thank both my guests, Romanesque and Matt. It is a pure pleasure to have you both here. Awesome. So shout out. Oh, sorry, someone say something?
It's my pleasure to be shout outed.
Absolutely, definitely. If you two want to spam your link to your Twitch and Twitter, feel free to do that in the chat. Definitely follow both of these gentlemen. I believe it's Romanesque. Is just like it'd be Twitch
It's-
TV slash.
It's Romanesque HS, which stands for Honorable Salmon, and not some Blizzard card game that no one cares about.
Yeah. So you could have changed it if you wanted to. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't because there's already a Romanesque.
Oh, well then make it Romanesque TESL.
No, that's my Twitter. It's good enough.
No, you're just a heretic.
Anyway, for people interested, I am streaming right now, actually, but muted.
Really?
Yes.
Like, oh well, that's something you can do.
Well, hey, I can host a live streamer.
Oh God, those exist?
What is a live streamer?
Whoa, no, I can host
Apparently,
a
apparently live
non-broadcast.
streamers are salmon that can talk. Yeah, like, ugh.
So thank you for viewing. Thank you for watching. I will end this with a question of the week. Question of the week is going to be: are podcasts healthy, and in the long term, are they sustainable? So quick bit of shout outs. Actually, before I want to thank Ray Barker for the excellent intro that I'm also going to use as an outro for this one stream. And I thank my guest and all the viewers and listeners. Alright, and this has been the TESL Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Gym Class Hero, signing out with my new fancy intro. Or outro for this one, guys. It's gonna have always been an intro, though. If I can find the file. Alright, here we go.
Tremio low. Greetings.